Okay.
If you do not listen to her, your event will be shut down right now. Right now.
Well, that's productive. Shut down the platform where you demand to be heard.
We are going to let you on the mic. We are trying to be reasonable.
We are reasonable.
No, you really aren't reasonable.
We are going to give you the mic.
I think, just maybe, that's what he's going to do.
Where are we going to go?
Hold it, man. Happy to hold it. Excuse me. That's your attitude that I have nothing to say.
We're shutting it down.
Congratulations, you just shut down the event.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
My name is Marissa Janae Johnson, co-founder of Black Lives Matter Seattle.
Black Lives Matter. Wait, isn't that one of Bernie's causes? Way to treat an ally.
Bernie Sanders, I would like to welcome you to this place called Seattle, which is actually occupied Duwamish land, stolen, and hypocritically named after Chief Sealth.
Your point? Aren't the Duwamish Native Americans? Not black? And since when are unarmed Duwamish getting gunned down in the streets? Not only are our statements about the Duwamish not relevant, they're not accurate. These lands weren't stolen, they were ceded in the Treaty of Point Elliott. And I'm not saying it was fair, but the Native Americans were paid $150,000 for their lands, among other considerations. Also, naming the city after Chief Sealth hypocritical? She does realize he was a friend of the white man, doesn't she? Furthermore, he got paid royalties for the use of his name.
We are located in King County, where the silhouette of Martin Luther King reigns high.
That's right. Invoke the name of Martin Luther King, like what you're doing's honoring him.
While we spend $210 million building a new jail to imprison black children.
Yep, that's exactly why they spent that money, to lock up little black kids.
Welcome to Seattle, where our Seattle Police Department has been under federal consent decree for the past 3 years, and yet has been riddled by use of force, racial profiling, and scandals throughout the year.
Yes, the Seattle Police Department is under federal consent decree. And yes, in the past they were found to have used excessive force. However, the feds did not find that the Seattle Police Department engaged in a pattern or practice of discriminatory policing. What they said was, some SPD policies and practices could result in unlawful policing. That's not the same as saying that Seattle Police Department did or is engaging in racial profiling. Moreover, they said, many community members believe that the SPD engages in discriminatory policing. This perception is rooted in a number of factors, including negative street encounters, recent well-publicized videos of force being used against people of color, incidents of overt discrimination, and concerns that the pattern of excessive force disproportionately affects minorities. There's probably a whole video's worth of material in that last bit there. But rather than go down that rabbit hole, let's move on.
We will fight for black lives no matter what it takes.
So, you get up on stage, and you shut down the one guy who's supposedly on your side. Kinda sounds to me like you're fighting against black lives.
Welcome to Seattle, where the Seattle School Department suspends black students at a rate 6 times higher than their counterparts.
Hate to be pedantic about them pesky little facts, but here's some raw data. It does show that blacks get suspended more often than any other group, but it doesn't show that they get suspended 6 times as often as every other group. And, like her statement, it doesn't show, explicitly or implicitly, that blacks are being treated unfairly in discipline in schools. These statistics could be the result of any number of factors, including family stability, economic stability, or even culture. But no, every time we see them, we got to jump on the victimization train and blame somebody else.
Bernie, welcome to Seattle, where we have undergone intense gentrification in the Central District, where used to be the only place where we black people could live legally in Seattle.
Why is gentrification always seen as a negative? It's about rebuilding and renewal, improving living conditions in those neighborhoods where it's going on. There are examples out there of how gentrification has benefited the people in these neighborhoods. And besides, the Central District is long overdue for renewal.
As it's already been stated, tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of the ruthless murder of Michael Brown.
You had to go there. You just had to go there.
So right now, we are going to honor this space, and we are going to honor the memory of Michael Brown. And
Now, I know this has been said in videos and blog posts and comment sections across the internet, and even in some of the mainstream media, but apparently, you missed the memo. Michael Brown was a violent, thieving, low-life thug. Is that what you're honoring? Is that the kind of thing you find honorable?
we're going to honor the fact that I have to fight through all these people to say, my life matters!
Wow, I guess you really did have to go through a lot of people to get up there. What about your friend? How many people did she go through? You guys were just like Custer at the Alamo. I'm impressed. And now, for the grand finale.
I have to get up here in front of a bunch of screaming white racists to say my life fucking matters!
To begin with, no, you didn't have to get up there. We could have figured out all on our own that your life matters. As far as the screaming white racists, nah. Nobody in that crowd was uttering derogatory comments as regards your race. They were, however, expressing displeasure about what you were doing. Those people came to see Bernie Sanders. That was his stage, not yours. And you came up there and bullied him off with your extortion tactics. You don't think that pissed a few people off? The fact that people of a different color disagree with you doesn't make them a racist. The fact that they don't approve of your behavior doesn't make them a racist either. And now for some final thoughts. I don't necessarily support Bernie Sanders, but I do get what the Black Lives Matter movement is all about, whether I agree with it or not. Thousands of people turned out at Westlake Center that day to hear Bernie Sanders speak. What they got was two entitled little girls demanding to have their 15 minutes of fame. These two young women reminded me of the little child in the store who, when mommy refuses to buy him a toy, throws himself on the ground screaming and kicking. This tactic might work when you're 4 years old, but when you're an adult, most rational people just turn around and walk away. That's exactly what Bernie Sanders did. So now, with Bernie Sanders out of the way, she finally gets a chance to speak. So what does she do? She stands up there and whines about all the systemic injustices committed by whites against blacks. She makes claims and relies on evidence that's misleading and inconclusive at best. I plan on going into more detail on this subject in future videos, but for now, I think it's sufficient to say that this sort of thing always comes back to bite you. Somebody out there somewhere will point out the flaws in your argument. Then your credibility's called into question. Her next tactic is to call the crowd a bunch of screaming white racists. This tactic never works. Ever. It only puts people on the defensive. I seriously doubt she's looking for the help and support of white folks, but she's going to need it just as much as she needs help and support from black folks if she genuinely wants change. After all, according to her, white folks are the ones who have to change, and name-calling isn't going to change their mind. It's only going to confirm their belief about your movement. Finally, let's talk about Michael Brown. We've got to get past this idea that he was ruthlessly murdered by the police. That simply isn't the case. The fact is that it was his own actions that brought about his death. He was a violent criminal, a thug, and they want to make him a figurehead of the Black Lives Matter movement? Kind of makes you wonder if they're truly interested in justice or not. It's not that Mike Brown's life didn't matter, or that black lives don't matter. In fact, all lives matter. It's just that we've got to get past this mentality of victimization and start recognizing that it's our own actions and our own choices that put us where we are. Only then can we get past the problems and start working on the solutions. Enough said.